Are you an aspiring speaker ready to command the stage? I'm hosting my 6-week training created for the next generation of transformational speakers. That means you desire to confidently communicate the message that you've been called to share with the masses in a way that will move them to shift something in their lives immediately. If you're not scared to get in front of an audience, but your delivery hasn't made people clamor to get to you or work with you, then there's something missing. And I bet that we can pinpoint exactly what it is in this one-of-a-kind training. Doors are now open for just a short time. So come learn how to captivate your audience, attract your tribe, and use speaking from the stage physically or virtually to grow your platform exponentially. I know that I can help you become more magnetic, more powerful, and more memorable if you'll let me. To find out more details and view real-life client results, head to commandthestage.com. The training only comes around once a year, so you don't want to miss this. Come to commandthestage.com.
She already had it in her mind to ask us to be on the show because she had been watching us up until that point. So it wasn't even the portfolio that put us on her radar. It was the storytelling.
You're listening to the Redefining Wealth podcast with Patrice Washington, and you have caught us in a very special week because this is a space where you come every week to learn more about what it means to chase purpose, not money. Every week, I share with you the original definition of wealth, which is the condition of well-being. But let me tell you something I know to be true. We become more well in our lives when we tell the truth about our stories. Many of us are unwell and unable to step into our purpose because we are stuffing down many of the things that have actually made us who we are and given us the heart for why we do what we do and why we desire to serve people the way that we do. And I'm here to help you break free of that during this Give Voice to Truth month. I want you to truly own your voice in the marketplace by being real about how you came to this purpose that you have. And so all week, I'm interviewing amazing graduates of my signature program, Command the Stage, because doors are now open until this Saturday, August 17th. And I want you to hear what a woman sounds like when she owns her story, when she gives voice to truth, and when she allows it to propel her in the marketplace. There is something so unique and beautiful about each and every one of these stories. And today, I'm excited to introduce you to this graduate. Jameelah Watkins-Mallett is a dynamic serial entrepreneur celebrated for her exceptional contributions to the lifestyle and design industry, boasting a career that spans over 2 decades. Her latest venture, Jameelah Divine Interiors and Lifestyle, serves the Atlanta area and beyond with its innovative lifestyle design solutions. As the lead design producer and art director on HGTV's Married to Real Estate, Jameelah continues to captivate audiences with her visionary approach. She also introduced the groundbreaking CASE method, which integrates personal development and design principles. Without further ado, welcome this alumna of Spelman College, Jameelah Watkins-Mallett. Welcome to the Redefining Wealth podcast, Jameelah.
Thank you, Patrice. Thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited.
Listen, this has been something that I don't know what it is, but I'm like, the moment that I get invited to the podcast is when I know like I've hit that milestone. And not that we couldn't have done it before, but I just knew there was a part of me that wasn't going to be ready until a certain time. So I'm excited to be here. I'm blessed to be here. This means a lot to me.
And this is the time. You know, I will never forget meeting you in Atlanta when I was speaking at Paul Mitchell Schools. I did not live here. I lived in California and I was here visiting and speaking. And you came to see me speak. I met you after I talked. You brought me a candle and we hugged. And you told me how the podcast had been doing so much in your life and changing your life. And you had to come meet me in person. And I think that was like 6 years ago already. I think that was like 2018-ish.
Yeah. If not 2017. Well, you started it in 2017, so it's probably like early 2018.
Yeah, it was like early 2018. So going all the way back there, what did you hear in the podcast even that made you say, oh, I got to go take this lady a candle?
Listen, first of all, you said that you love candles. That was something that you would talk about a lot. But I'm not even the type of person to do like what I did, like go, because, I'm real chill. I'm kind of like an introvert. So for me to like go and attend something, but I had to because I remember at that time, I had just found out about my then husband that he was having an affair. And I knew the girl that it was with. And you had an episode. This is when part of your podcast was being aired on like the Steve Harvey show, or like somewhere on the radio was like clips of it.
Yeah.
And I heard the clip and I said, who is this lady? Let me go figure out who she is. Let me go get the rest of this episode, because it was called Bless Thy Enemy. And I will never, ever, ever, ever forget. I said, okay. And I listened to it. And, podcasts had been around for a while, but it was still very, very, very new. And so I listened to it, and I started to listen to your other episodes and like how you broke down the pillars and all of that, because I was in a really lost place. I've been through a lot of things. Like we had a daughter. She passed away. Her name was Ryan Yvonne. She passed away at 4 months old. So we were going through a lot. I was already going through a lot at that point. And then 4 years later, the affair happened. So you're thinking you're like growing together, going through life, trying to rebuild together. So it wrecked me because I put a lot of stock in him. I put a lot of faith in that relationship. And so it crumbled me. And so when I heard that episode, I just was a deep dive, and you were kind of like my compass for a long time. You really were. You were my compass because I did not know what to do. I had that relationship that everybody would think is gold. They had the house, the cars, the trips, the bags, the this, all that type of stuff. And so I didn't really feel like I had anybody I could talk to. And that the podcast was it for me. It was like probably one of the only things that I had to hold on to at the time. So when I saw you were coming to Atlanta, and then you would say like, I think we DM'd a little bit before. You would say, if you like the podcast, let me know. It's my Instagram. So I for sure slid in your DMs and said, I love the podcast. Thank you so much. And like I said, that's not something I would ordinarily do, but redefining wealth, whenever somebody is going through something, you're part of like the starter kit. I'm like, okay, this is what you need to do. You need to go get you a therapist. I need you to listen to this podcast right here. It's a few more that I've added to the list, but you're definitely like the starter pack for healing for the girls, for me.
I love that. The starter pack for healing. I receive it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so when you started to roll out like your programs, I believe the first one was Command the Stage.
The first one was P2P.
Okay, so maybe I did Purpose the Platform first, but that wasn't until maybe 2020 when I did that. And that's when I learned the power of community and sisterhood. Because like I said, I was going through this by myself. I had my friends, but I actually really had a lot of people around me that weren't good for me. They were kind of around me for what I could offer via my ex-husband and all the flashy stuff and free tickets here, club section, bottle service, stuff like that. So when I met the community, that took it to a whole other level.
So why did you sign up for Command the Stage? Did you feel like with all that you had experienced, you were just being called to share your story?
So my daughter passed in 2014. Obviously, I had never experienced losing a child before, and I was only like 20 or 21 years old when she passed away. And I found community online of other women who had died, who had gone through that. And then there were people sharing their story. So I started to share my story. And then there were people who it just happened to. So I felt led to help them. And I think a lot of people can relate. A lot of your listeners, or at least a lot of your students, can relate when you go through something. When you have a good heart, the first thing you want to do is help somebody else so that it doesn't happen to them or so that they don't have to go through what you went through. I don't know what that complex is, but it's like, even if you're not even 10% into your healing process, you're like, you have this savior thing where you want to go and help other people. But people would tell me how my story impacted them. And I've always been someone where I didn't even like to hear my own voice. If I'm like recording or I want to speak and then I won't post it because I'm like, oh, no, that doesn't sound right. I would overthink it too much. So I felt like Command the Stage was a good program for me because that's not something that comes natural to me. One-on-one, I can speak to people. I can pour into people. I'm a really good writer, so I can write things, but to actually speak on a stage, I need the training to do it. And so, of course, God is like, but wait, there's more. Here's some more stuff for you to overcome. And so I've had to, everything that has happened in my story, and you know even more about it and how it all ended and like where I am now, those tools that I have from Command the Stage has helped me immensely to just do everything that I'm doing now. I didn't know I was going to be doing it, but I had an inkling that I was going to be able to transform lives.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. And just thinking back, like at this point, yes, we've known each other for like 6 years. I mean, the podcast is turning 7 years old. So you are OG in the Redefining Wealth community. And to watch the transformation, to see you go from that marriage that didn't serve you to being able to speak up for yourself. And now I had the honor of even being at your wedding and celebrating, you know, your new love and watching you do all of these incredible things on the other side. So to go from not liking your voice and overthinking, tell us like where you are now, like what that journey has been like. Because I'm itching to ask questions about what just happened, but I'm gonna let you walk us through the evolution of Jameelah, what you were doing professionally when I met you and then where you are now.
Yes. So when we met, I had an event design and planning firm with my dear friend and ex-business partner, Ebony Clark. We had an event firm called J Divine Events. And so we produced events. I was a hairstylist before that, but by the time I met you, I already started doing events. So events took us through 2019 into 2020. And then we know what happened during 2020. The pandemic happened. And so there were no more events to be had. But luckily, I had kind of fell into interior design. And that's actually where I met Egypt Sherrod. I was referred to like a celebrity client who needed an interior designer. And I didn't even have a business. We didn't even have an LLC for interior design. But we jumped out there and I took the opportunity and I figured it out. And that's where I met Egypt because she was his realtor. And so fast forward, she said, I want to see what you did with the place. And I sent her pictures of it. It only took us like 3 months. Like if I could finish a project in 3 months, you know, ignorance is bliss. When you don't know and you're just out there, you got all this courage. But when you know too much, it's the thing to slow things down. But we did that in 3 months. It was beautiful. It got published on Martha Stewart's blog and all of that. So I sent the pictures to Egypt. About 1.5 years later, she opened the DM. Not even immediately. She opened the DM. And I was sharing my story a lot. You know, we were sharing our designs. We were doing our thing. I already did Command the Stage and Purpose the Platform already. So I kind of had my wheels turning and like telling my story and just like speaking and like being very transparent about everything. And so when she opened the DM, it was to invite Ebony and I to be on her show, Married to Real Estate. It was in pilot mode. It was probably in pre-pilot mode. And so what's funny is I thought that she reached out because she saw the pictures. She opened it and saw the pictures and was like, oh, this is beautiful. But she already had it in her mind to ask us to be on the show because she had been watching us up until that point. So it wasn't even the portfolio that put us on her radar. It was the storytelling that put us on her radar.
Woo!
Right. And that's the thing. Like, I wish I could say she just loved our work so much. And it was beautiful, but that was literally just the icing on the cake. It was a storytelling. And I could tell you that storytelling has gotten me, my clientele comes from word of mouth, but a lot of people do business with me because of my story, because they relate to me, they connect to me. They didn't care if I only had 1 year experience or 2 months experience. They were just like, I connect with you. They don't even have to have gone through what I went through, but it just speaks to the spirit and the type of person that I am. And they're like, I don't know what it is, but I want to work with you. And so I get a lot of opportunities just from that. Right. So I got that opportunity, and it was in the works right before, now we're going to go on the ride. She contacted us January of 2021, because I met her in 2019. So January 2021 is when she contacted us. About 2 weeks later, I had probably I want to say it was the worst week of my life, but I can't even sit here and say it was the worst week of my life, outside of losing my daughter, because on a Monday, I found out that my father was not my birth father. On a Wednesday, I found out that he had passed away when I was 10 years old. So even though I found out I have, about my birth father, he's gone, so I can't meet him. And then by Friday, I found out that my then husband was having a 3-year affair with another woman, and that this affair started about 3 months after the first one ended, that wrecked me and rocked me. But that's why I say you, Patrice, and just the Redefining Wealth community, like y'all have helped me so much, because at that point I had a conviction, because I was so used to dealing with the BS. I told my therapist I could stay, but I just don't want to. I could work through this, and we can spiritualize the whole thing into talking myself, what you call it, romanticizing. I could romanticize the whole thing, and we're going to get through this and do all that. But I was like, I just don't want to. And then who am I to get up and continue to inspire people and talk to people about loving themselves and self-love this and all of that? And I'm going to stay in this situation and keep a mask on for who knows how long. So I got to get up out of here. I had to. It was very inconvenient because I had an 8,000 square foot home. I had 2 cars and a work vehicle. I hadn't paid a bill in I don't know how long, but I had to get up immediately. We actually got chosen for the show officially right after that. About 2-3 months later, I tried to have me a hot girl summer. That didn't work out. It was only like a hot girl spring for about 2 months. And then I met my now husband about 2 months after that. And I had actually already known him years prior, met him once before. But here's where telling your story, I don't know what the title of this episode is going to be, but it's really about sharing your story. It can do so much to live in your truth, because I had a friend, we had a mutual friend, and she worked in his shop. She would always just talk so highly about me, like, oh, Jameelah went through this, like she lost her baby. Oh, Jameelah, she's going through this. Or she just got married. Or she was just doing this. She's just doing that. She started this business. She's doing that. She's has this going on, that going on. So he was very versed about who I was as a person. And because of who she was, because she actually, we're no longer friends, but she was somebody who I helped a lot. And he was also helping her a lot. And so I knew his character spoke enough. I'm like, if you are patient enough to still be helping this person and still be trying to look out for this person. And I know all the other stuff that she was going through at the time. And I remember her talking about this guy, her boss, because he was married at the time, and how he would just help her. And it spoke to his character. So I say that to say, when people know who you are, they know how you live, they know your character, things don't have to take as long, because people think they got to give this long timeline. So I feel like relationships, business, all of that, it didn't take that long for us to get approved from HGTV, because we were already vetted through how we shared our story. It didn't take long for me and him to fall in love, because I knew his character and he knew my character. and we were able to vouch for one another. We didn't have to go through the normal dating phases of like getting to know each other and hoping this person isn't a serial killer because we were able to like vouch for one another. So we felt comfortable moving forward. It wasn't just the easiest transition, obviously, coming from that relationship, because not only was it emotionally abusive, it was financially abusive, it was physically abusive, it was a lot of different things. But working with you and being in that community and doing my therapy and all of that, I said I was like healing from the marriage while I was in the marriage. So by the time I got out of it, I didn't feel so broken down and beat down.
Bingo.
And I think people think that they gotta get out of a situation, or like, when I'm done with this, I'm gonna start therapy, or when I get out of this, I'm gonna do this. It's like, you can actually do it now. You can actually work through it now, because I was hoping that it would get better. But at the same time, I felt like in my spirit that I needed to keep coaching myself and like for whatever was to come, whether it was for me to be his wife and I have a higher level of like consciousness and I have this confidence and all of that, I would have been down to try to help him on his journey as well. But I felt like our season was up. And so as soon as I let that go, it's always something to be said. Listen, I'm an OG, so I could drop all your nuggets, but you said you had to give God something to bless.
Yeah.
And that always stuck with me too. So it's like, I have to take this leap and show him that I trust him and try to walk out here on my own 2 feet and, give the rest to him.
Jameelah, let's just talk about timing though. How divine the timing was. You got hit with all those blows, and yet, a week or so later, a few weeks later, you get this opportunity of a lifetime as a newer interior designer, as someone who is newer to even sharing your story. You just went from overthinking to literally like sharing testimony, sharing your story all the time, and that being enough. Like you said, it was enough to vet you. It was enough to vet you. No one came and said, okay, well, have you been an interior designer for 10 years? I need to see all of your certifications. I need to see all of the things. The power of telling your story consistently. And imagine, had you not gotten out of your head about your voice, what do I sound like? Is this good enough? You being just able to show up consistently and share your story. Look at all the things that it opened up. My mind just continues to be blown. Are you an aspiring speaker ready to command the stage? I'm hosting my 6-week training created for the next generation of transformational speakers. That means you desire to confidently communicate the message that you've been called to share with the masses in a way that will move them to shift something in their lives immediately. If you're not scared to get in front of an audience, but your delivery hasn't made people clamor to get to you or work with you, then there's something missing. And I bet that we can pinpoint exactly what it is in this one-of-a-kind training. Doors are now open for just a short time. So come learn how to captivate your audience, attract your tribe, and use speaking from the stage physically or virtually to grow your platform exponentially. I know that I can help you become more magnetic, more powerful, and more memorable if you'll let me. To find out more details and view real-life client results, head to commandthestage.com. The training only comes around once a year, so you don't want to miss this. Come to commandthestage.com. You haven't even told them everything that you do yet.
Right. No. And that's why I'm like, let me know how far you want me to go with this, because it has literally been the most beautiful journey. I can't describe it as anything else but beautiful, because that opportunity with Egypt, we've been on there since we're going into season 4. And so I have been able to be on the show and do what we do. I've actually started my own firm at this point. So Ebony is doing real estate and I'm doing design. So I started my own firm. And then when I walked away from that, because that was an amicable split, it was just, we had to push each other out into what we were really meant to do. Because with my platform, it has a very delicate, unique mix. Like I call myself a lifestyle designer. I don't want to be a life coach, but I want to help people. Design is my ministry. It really is. The way that I transform a home and the way that it helps someone's life and how it grows them. Even if they have all the money and the accolades and all that, but the way that it grows them and the way that it grows me, I just felt like I needed to make space for whatever it is that God wanted me to do. And so in that time, I remember going to Redefining Wealth last year. I think it was last year. And I left Lauren Wesley. That was the name of our company. I started my own firm, but I'm like, I think I need to get a job just to like hold me over or like, because that's the responsible thing to do, even though I had achieved all of this stuff. And that's why you have to continue to bet on yourself. If I'm really, really honest, I did that because at that point, I did care about what people thought because I walked away from, a beautiful partnership. And I really felt like the bad guy because I'm the one who made that decision. Even though I loved her so much, I just knew what I needed to do. But I'm like, okay, let me go get a job or whatever. So I have some stability, air quote. And it just was not working for me. And Evelyn Lavasser, she's one of the Purpose Chasers as well. I love her so much. I was sitting next to her and I was like, yeah, I did that because I feel like I needed a safety net, but it's just not working for me. And she was like, oh, you didn't realize you were the safety net.
Bloop. Come on, Evelyn, EVE, OG Purpose Chaser.
Snatched my edges out. And then I told you about it. And he was like, oh, she just rubbed my shoulder. He was like, you thought you needed, you thought you needed that. Oh, okay. I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and send these people my notice because you also say you're not above backing out.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I had did all these things, I went to the training, they flew me to Orlando for a week and they did all this stuff and I opened the store. I did a whole lot. I filmed content at like the grand opening and like telling people I got this job and all this kind of stuff. And I just had to back away from it. When I did that, I was able to replace my income as an independent designer. What I was making at that place for a year, I made that in 60 days. And I felt real foolish.
You can't feel foolish. Let me tell you why, though. Let me tell you for the benefit of the audience. Let me tell you why. Alignment feels awkward. Alignment is crazy, but clarity only comes in the doing. And sometimes just to get it out the way, we have to allow ourselves to be disobedient and move into these directions only to go, oh, okay, because that's what you thought it was. So when Evelyn snatched your edges and then I patted you politely on your shoulder, on your knee and say, oh, that's so sweet. It's okay because that's a part of the journey. But now you'll never have to think about, well, maybe it would have been just better if I went and got a job. You already know what the answer is. That's a no for you. It may be a yes for some people, but that was a no for you. When we are living our life through the lens of, I want to be the most aligned, authentic version of myself, you have to try multiple things to get there. You don't know it by sitting on the sidelines and thinking about it. You only know it by making choices, saying yes, moving in that direction, and then going, oh, yeah, no, I thought, not gonna be able to do it. So we can't ever be above backing out. That's why we always have to be willing to lose. I'm always willing to lose, especially other people's opinions of me. Willing to lose. I don't care what you think.
Absolutely. And it's scary. It sounds, we're saying it like it's easier said than done, but it is hard to keep pushing forward and not think about what other people think, especially when I was in a situation where I feel like one of my biggest haters, I was laying next to him. So when you have people that are talking you out of it, or they're making you feel stupid for the decisions that you're making, that can impact a lot, but you have to keep going anyway. So fast forward, I'm doing all of this with my new venture and I'm doing well. I have clients, things are working. And like I said, I'm a lifestyle designer, so I'm just making space. I don't even, even still to this day, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I had this inkling to start a conference for interior designers. And that fell into my spirit. Me and my husband talked about it maybe in like November of last year. And so I just realized that once again, when you go through certain things, you want to reach back and pull the people up so that they don't have to go through what you went through. Because it was a stumble, like being in interior design. We lost a lot of money. It was a lot of liability. It was a lot of things with bookkeeping and taxes and like running the business, because it's 80% business, 20% pretty, what people don't understand. And a lot of people get into it and they run into these roadblocks and they feel like, oh, I'm not good enough. No, it's just you didn't have the tool. Confidence comes from like the education. No, that doesn't mean go get a degree, but that does mean that you need to go equip yourself and get into community with people who can help you. And so I saw how community helped me, through Purpose to Platform and Command the Stage. And it was in Purpose to Platform, or maybe Command the Stage, where you helped me develop my proprietary method for, at the time, it was for like life coaching. It was kind of centered around trauma and like relationships and child loss, things like that. But the CASE method is an acronym for consultation, the anchors, the shell, and the enhancements. And it's a life design method that I also turned into an interior design method. It kind of bounced back and forth on one another, but essentially the way you design your home is the way you can design your life, and vice versa. And so originally I had in my notes the CASE conference. Maybe a year and a half ago, I put that in there. And it was going to be centered around like healing and self-development. And then when I talked to my husband about doing a conference for interior designers, I really was just supposed to just be a workshop. Literally, we're supposed to just be in a room, 12 of us or so. And we were just going to do a little workshop and we were going to learn about interior design.
That's not what I saw.
Somehow it turned into this whole conference with like a marketing rollout and sponsors and, speakers, and Egypt was the keynote. And we'll get more in depth about the CASE conference, but I decided to start that. And when I tell you it was the most fulfilling journey that I've ever been on, using that method, turning it into a live event. And I took the CASE method through to like do life coaching and things like that. It was so many different iterations of it, right?
Yeah.
But now the CASE method has found its place as an interior design conference, as an interior design mastermind. And this is me getting on the stage and hosting, addressing the room, having to speak and actually like presenting. I remember when we did Redefining Wealth Live and J Divine Events, we did like the design and some of the production for that with you. And you were like, I'm going to get up and teach. I'm like, what does that mean? I'm like, teach? What does that mean? Like, I know what she means, but like, what does she mean? She said, you just said, oh, I'm just going to get up and teach. I'm like, okay. So I watch it and I saw how everything went with that event. I seen how you've done, Redefining Wealth Live recently, and you get up and you provide value. You change lives, you transform lives. People are in tears. People are overwhelmed. They've never heard some of these things before, and their life has changed. And so when you get up and you give your offer at the end to continue to work with you, and the way that people are just like throwing their wallets at the stage, some people would think, oh, I can't sell. Like, I don't want to sell. I don't want to come up. It's not selling. It's literally providing value. The exchange is very much worth it. My team was like, what's your offer? I'm like, I don't know. And I was mulling over it for months of like what I was going to do. And I decided what I was going to do. And I was going to do an intimate mastermind for 10 people. And we were sold out within 3 days for the mastermind.
Come on. I'm so proud of you. Come on. Okay, wait. You went from I don't really talk. Like, I'm not really out there like that. I'm more of an introvert. I design, I set the event up, but I'm not really like on the stage, not trying to do any of that. To now being on television regularly, going in the fourth season of Married to Real Estate. And shout out to Egypt Sherrod. That's also one of my good girlfriends. So this all makes me so happy.
Yes, shout out to her.
And then like all these iterations of the case method, but even the audacity of you while going through all the things in that previous marriage to open yourself up to the possibility of all these seeds that God was just planting, like all these downloads, the case method. What could it be? What does this look like? Having no idea in 2020 and in 2021 when you were in those programs that this is what was going to come to fruition. Like, if this is not an example of giving God something to bless, I don't know what is. This is what it is. This is what it's all about. It makes me so happy. And I just have to say, too, when I learned that selling from the stage was literally about service, you're not selling anybody anything. I'm sharing with you, this is the way I've been called to support in this season. And any heart that aligns with that and resonates with that, if it's a fit, I just welcome you to take the next step. I'm not pushing you, forcing you, manipulating anything. This is how I feel called to serve. And if you align with this message, I would love to be the person to work with you, to serve you, to hold space, to have this container, to be in this incubator with you. And I trust that the women, the people that I attract are smart enough and powerful enough to make the right decision for themselves. What is bad about that? Look at what you've been able to do. If I didn't understand that, that also impacts you. That impacts Tanya Bailey Jones. That impacts Anita Morris. That impacts Evelyn Lavasser. That impacts Dr. Patrice Buckner Jackson. And I can go on and on and on. When I see you guys out there living, those of you who have like gone through Command the Stage and Purpose the Platform, and all of these things that you did are now coming to fruition in the marketplace, and you have the internal fortitude to, no matter what life brings you, leverage that to keep moving forward. Oh, I gotta get up and say, this is how you can work with me. It would be a disservice to humanity for me to not.
Oh, it absolutely would be, because what if you didn't answer the call? Honestly, if you didn't answer the call, to God be the glory. And He has a plan for us one way or another. He's going to either use this person or he's going to use that person, but He chose you to show up for us. What I'm trying to say is it could have gone other ways. I probably could have gotten to this point one way or another, but you answering the call, helping me to have that confidence to choose myself over and over and over and over again. And then to put me in community with women who were in worse situations or similar situations, or just the fact that they had experienced something and they're trying to do something different. Like, it was the community. And that's what I created with the case conference. This group chat be bumping all day. I'm not even in it. They don't even care about me. They started WhatsApp chat. They meeting up. They doing stuff. Like, they are building we used to report our wins to you. Now they're reporting their wins. Like, I don't charge, I used to do free consultations. Now I'm charging $500 and they booked. Like, they didn't have an issue with that. So like, you're making, and I haven't been able to still find the words for this conference, but the fact that these women, like, I know that this is something that is world changing, is life changing, even for our little corner of the world, because I gave them the confidence, along with my team, along with the speakers and everybody, them seeing how businesses are run and seeing what is possible, and them being in a community with each other. They're like, oh, I can ask for that. I'm showing you everything. I showed them my entire process from top to bottom. I didn't hold anything back. I showed them what my invoices look like, how much I'm charging, and how this has worked. It worked for me in Ebony. It worked for me. Like, this isn't something new. I asked Ebony, I'm like, was that is that not right? She said, that's just what we do. And I've had no rebuttal about it. So when they come in and they're like, oh, I just booked a client, or, I'm just not holding anything back. So by the time I got to my offer, it was a no-brainer for them because I'm showing you what I have done. And so this investment is pennies compared to what I'm going to be able to do after working with her, after being in community with all of these women. It's a no-brainer. I did not get not a piece of pushback.
You know what, too, though? Let me say this. The other piece of this, though, Jameelah, is that Command the Stage and Purpose the Platform, anything that you've experienced with me, is never just about, the external stuff. Yes, you get a framework. Yes, people start to develop their proprietary methods and programs and all of these amazing things. But beyond that, my prayer in this community is that we learn that we can be our most authentic selves and get the job done. You don't have to get up and perform and pretend to be somebody that you're not in order to move people to transformation. You led these women and yourself to this outcome because they got a chance to experience you authentically. This is who Jameelah authentically is. I don't hold anything back. You know this from coaching with me for years. On my calls, the call's supposed to be an hour. We on here 2 hours. I'm answering all kind of questions. We going to church. We got Cry Day Friday back in the day on P2P. But the part of that is that's who I am authentically. That's who I am. That's how I like to coach. And whenever I try to do things from what the guru said was the right way, as opposed to what was the aligned way, it always struggled. It was always a problem. And I wouldn't say it failed, but it wasn't the best possible version. We always are going to experience, I believe, the best possible version in that moment when we're bringing the best possible, realist, authentic, raw version of ourselves, and people can see our heart. You can see my intention. You can see my motivation. You can feel my heart. As long as all that is aligned, all the other stuff is just the formality. That's nothing. That's not anything to worry about or stress about if we are showing up like God chose us to be here.
You hit it right on the head because that's the next thing I was going to say. The overarching feedback that I got throughout the weekend and leading up to the conference was, I just saw your heart. They saw me online. I'm doing these Instagram lives. Mind you, it's still a big part of me that does not like to hear myself talk. And my team is like, we're going to do lives every Thursday. I'm like, okay, I do not want to do this, but that was even life-changing in itself. So that was the feedback that I got, that they chose to work with me because of who I was. Because this was the first conference. And this was not a cheap conference. I think it started at $1,300. This was like a high ticket conference. It is very difficult to get people in the room at a high ticket, and it's very nerve wracking, especially because people wait a while and all this kind of stuff. But they had to do the research. I had to have something for them to go back to because they're going to invest. They're going to deep dive. Who is this lady? And I remain the same. I led with my heart. I'm just a very personable person. I don't really know how to put on airs and be like super put together. I am together. I can carry myself or whatever, but I am not that person that's going to get up and like try to be orchestrated in any kind of way. I'm like, we're here.
We're here because the people assigned to you already know what it is. And that is the beautiful thing about it. Can I be honest with you? I really don't believe anything changes in those pillars until you are willing to take radical action. And sometimes that means you have to get out of the comfort zone that is your house right now. I want to invite you to Redefining Wealth Live. Take radical action and come and join me live in person, October 6th through 8th, because this is going to be a transformative experience like no other. This is not a business conference, so we're not loading this with all the how-tos and to-dos and just strategy. This is about your soul. soul. Redefining Wealth Live is a vibrant gathering of spirit-led, like-hearted purpose chasers who come together to awaken, redefine, and actualize wealth in every area of their lives. The goal is to move you from autopilot to authenticity. So I want you to picture yourself leaving, not just inspired, but transformed. In our deeply connected community, we go beyond talking. We collaborate, we apply actionable insights, we work on our scripts, we get in our wisdom circles and really talk about our individual next steps. This is an unparalleled connection. There is clarity and confidence in that room that you want to apply to your life. You need this in order to bring your vision to life. So this is the room you want to be in, October 6th through 8th. I want to invite you to go to redefiningwealthlive.com right now to secure your spot. That's redefiningwealthlive.com right now. And when you do, you'll have access to our next bonus co-created connection call where you can learn from me well before the event and also start to connect with other attendees. You don't want to miss this. redefiningwealthlive.com. I am just so proud of you. I mean, 6 years in the making, and to watch you flourish in this way and design a life personally and professionally that is so radically different. You know, one of the things I always say is when we're in an experience together, if you really take this seriously, by the end, your life you'll be barely recognizable. Mm-hmm. But I really think that when you stay connected to the community, and you stay rooted in the principles and those one-liners, like you said, you could quote all the things better than I probably can, all the good 2018, 2019 episodes. But when you stay rooted and always come back to that, I think year over year, our lives become barely recognizable. Like the joy, the peace, the fulfillment, the creativity, the connections, the relationships. Like I truly believe in the power of redefining wealth, of knowing what that means for yourself. Because had you not redefined wealth and not made it about more than just money and material possessions, you very well could still be in that original marriage because you had the 8,000 square foot home, which I have visited and it was beautiful. And you had all the cars and all the things. You had all the trappings of what people think wealth is. But to see you being well, to see you being loved well, to see you in partnership with even Ebony still in different ways well, and to see you just doing all of the things so well, it gives my heart such joy. I am so proud of you. Even as I kept going to your Facebook just to see when people are posting about the Case Method Conference and the beautiful photos and all that stuff. And I'm just so proud of you, Jameelah. And I'm so honored that
thank you.
However you quote unquote stumbled upon me on that Steve Harvey segment all those years ago to now, and then to become like more personal. Jameelah done sold me a house, my Redefining Wealth workhouse. I bought from Jameelah, designing events and all the things. Like, I'm just so incredibly proud of everything that you're doing. And I know God is only going to continue to take those seeds that were planted in Command the Stage, Purpose the Platform, and they're going to just continue to blow up and blossom. It's inevitable. Like it's just the natural trajectory. And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Patrice. I'm thinking I'm going to get out of this interview without crying. I think we're good. I think I'm in the clear. But I'm just so thankful because you're right. You will be unrecognizable. I think that's the thing with the conference. I didn't recognize myself. I just didn't throughout the whole weekend. Oh, here it is. Yeah. I didn't recognize myself. Like seeing the pictures and like the recaps and stuff, I felt like I was watching somebody else. That cannot be me, like the person who was just so beat down, the person that kind of walked so long of just the girl that lost her baby. I used to carry that. I would just be having conversations. I'm like, yeah, my daughter passed away. Like, girl, why are you like, I would just carry it to be where I am now. And I'm just at peace with every single part of my life. Every part that has happened, I'm just so at peace with it because now I understand why. And I think if you keep moving forward, you keep pushing forward, all of those questions that you have about why is this happening to me, if you keep pushing forward, I promise you and I guarantee you will find the answer to that, especially when you get into community, especially when you invest in yourself, invest in mentorship, and, just connect with people whose purpose and mission is like similar to yours. I think you're going to find those answers. And I'm so thankful. And just on top of all of that, we didn't even get to the part where Egypt tapped me to be her design producer this season for Married to Real Estate. So not only, I went from on-screen talent to designing the entire season with Egypt and speaking about her brand and speaking about the show. And I'm bringing in partnerships for the show that is going to elevate it even more, because there is something to be said about a Black woman in media and how you may not always have everything that you need. And so now she has an ally that is going to help to amplify her. So now I'm in a season now where I know how important it is to be of service. And so that's my season now, is being of service to other designers, whether they are Egypt charades or whether, they're a new designer in Fayetteville, Georgia, somewhere, whatever it is. Like, I know how important it is to have allies, to have support, and for people to understand and like buy into your vision, which is why I'm always going to buy into your vision. I'm always going to support you in any way that I can. I'm going to show up in any way that I can, no questions asked, because it is literally life or death sometimes, because there's people out here who need to hear certain things, who need to see it. And if they don't see it, their life can go in a whole other direction. And so that's really what it's all been about. And I can't do anything but just be grateful and thankful for where God has brought me and who he brought me in connection with. It's just, I'm still trying to find the words. Maybe next year I'll be able, I have the words, but maybe next year I'll be able to really like eloquently speak about all that has happened. But for right now, I'm just grateful.
Yeah. Thank you, Jameelah. Thank you.
Thank you.
If someone is thinking about Command the Stage, I think that you have said more than enough. I think that your story is such a demonstration of giving God something to bless, not necessarily knowing where it's all going to go, but trusting that if you do your part to invest in yourself, in this confidence and the skill set to do it, that God is going to use it in some form or fashion. And your story is a testament to like, God has used your story over and over again in so many ways. So I love you.
I love you.
I'm so proud of you again. I'm grateful to be a part of your journey. And I look forward to seeing what comes next.
Absolutely. I can't wait to be at Redefining Wealth.
Yay! How can people find you?
So my Instagram is Jameelah Divine, JameelahDivine. That is my real name, not my stripper name. That's my real middle name. Some people think I just chose Divine. But yes, it's at Jameelah Divine on Instagram, Jameelah Watkins-Mallett on Facebook. And also, if you want to follow the Case Conference, you can follow us at the Case Conference as well on Instagram.
Wonderful. You guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I don't even have any more words. I think that Jameelah's story just speaks for itself. And whether you see yourself in Command the Stage this cohort, this season, or you just see yourself in deeper community with us in general, I just welcome you. Come on into the Redefining Wealth app. Feel free to reach out to me, ask me any questions about Command the Stage. You can find more information at commandthestage.com. But until next week, I want you to go live your life's purpose, find fulfillment, and earn more without ever feeling like you will have to chase money. We'll talk to you later.